Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Shawn. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by, and a special shout out to all of my channel members as well as my returning subscribers. Thank you for coming back. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you my process for making my baby Minky tag blankets or taggy blankets or sensory blankets. They're called a bunch of different things, but these blankets are really cute and fun to make for newborns up to, I say, about 9 to 12 months or so. They're also really nice baby shower gifts as well, and they're really simple to make and just a lot of fun to make as well. So I'm gonna go over all of the supplies that you'll need, then we're gonna jump right into the tutorial. So I have already cut my pieces of fabric. I sublimated on one and embroidered on another. So on my Minky here, I've already did my sublimation, and then on the other part of the Minky, I did a small embroidery piece. Okay, and I just have to say, I use MakerFlo Crafts sublimation paper, and look at that, no ink. Paper sublimates very, very, very well. So I can't wait to print off some more sublimation items using that new paper that I got. So for my pieces of fabric, I did cut them 12.5 by 12.5. So it's a complete square all the way around, 12.5 by 12.5. Just because Minky fabric does shift, so you want to give yourself a little room to work with, so when you're stitching it out. But I will show you a way that I have figured out that works for me, where it won't shift so much when I'm making these smaller blankets. So I have my two pieces of fabric, and then I'm going to be using some Wonder clips as well as some pins here. And I'm gonna use my scissors. I'm gonna have to cut my ribbon, and then here's my ribbon here, and I'm gonna start just cutting that. I do like to cut my ribbon at about 4.5, just to allow for that seam allowance and everything once we stitch everything together. So I do like to have my tags a little bit longer, just because babies' hands, they're so tiny, and so they're easily able to grip onto the tag as they grow. So let me go ahead. I'm gonna get my ribbon cut, and then I will show you the next step. All right, so I've gone ahead and cut out my ribbon, again 4.5 inches. And then as you can see here, I do have some different sizes, so you can do them all the same size, variation of sizes, whatever you prefer. And then as far as the length, even though I do cut mine at 4.5, you can make it longer or shorter, again, whatever you prefer. Either way, these blankets are going to turn out cute and really fun, and the baby is really going to enjoy it. What I like to do is clip my pieces of ribbon to the Minky dot fabric. So I'm going to just move this piece out of the way for now, and then bring this piece over. And then I will just go around and start laying my ribbon in different places, and then to get my placement on how I want everything. And then from there, then I'll go ahead and clip it. So just go around your blanket, kind of figuring out where you want everything to be. And then you can go back and clip it at that point. So I'm just kind of looking here. This one can go here. Actually, let me move this one here. And this is actually the fun part, trying to figure out where you want everything to go. Let's see, I'll do this one here, that one there. But, okay, I'm gonna move this one here and that one there. I was trying not to have each of the same color right next to each other, so I'm good with where I have it. So I'm gonna pour out some of my Wonder clips. And then now I'm gonna start on one side, and I'm gonna just now take it and fold it in half, line it up just like that. And then you want to clip it with the raw edges or the cut edges going against the edge of the fabric, okay? And so I just hold it down and put my clip on there like that. And then Or you can also pin it if you prefer to use pins as well for this part. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and clip it. And it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect as far as the spacing or anything like that. If you want to add more pieces, I'm adding 3 on each side, so a total of 12. If you want to add more pieces, if you want to add fewer pieces, just have fun with it. Make it however you want to make it. Make it unique. And so again, just going ahead and clipping this piece here. And then I'll show you what it looks like once I have this first, well, once I finish the rest of these, because otherwise the rest of this is going to move. And I will speed past through this part so you don't have to sit and watch me clip all these on. But it only takes about a good couple minutes to do this once you have your placement together. So I'll go ahead and speed past, and then I will catch you in a second. All right, so we are on the very last one. I'm just clipping onto the blanket here. And again, it doesn't take long at all. Of course, if you're putting more pieces on here, it'll take a little bit longer, but so let me kind of hold this up. So that is how your ribbon should look on your blanket. So let me just get this all laid out. And then now, because I do have an embroidery image on here as well as a sublimation image, I want to make sure I have them in the right direction. So if you decide to put any designs or anything like that on there, just make sure you have it going the way you need it to or want it to. So then I'm gonna go ahead and, with the clips and everything on just like this, I'm gonna go ahead and lay the top part of the blanket down and just make sure everything is good and even. And you don't want to like stretch or pull Minky fabric while you're doing this step, especially while you're sewing. So just kind of lay it on there and then just kind of lightly move the pieces around as you need to readjust it. Okay. I believe I am good. So now I'm gonna go around, hold the 2 pieces together, take that clip off, and then put it back on there. So we're gonna do that all the way around. And again, Minky is very shifty, okay? So just take your time. You don't have to rush through this, and make sure that nothing is moving, because once you get over to the sewing machine or once you go around and clip it, you don't want it to be uneven. So just take your time with this step. And this part won't take too long, so I won't speed past through this. I'll just go ahead and clip everything. And again, you want to make sure you're holding both pieces of the blanket and that ribbon. You don't want to let it go, because then your ribbon may come undone, or those 2 pieces that, or how you have it folded over, may come unfolded, is what I was trying to say. And so just hold that ribbon in place, lift that clip, and grab that top part of the blanket. All right, and then do the same here, and I'm gonna just turn this to the side. And again, I'm going to grab that top piece and just clip everything together. And if something does shift, say your ribbon kind of shifts, it's completely fine. The blanket will still turn out really nice, but just take your time with this step. Okay, so now we have everything clipped around. Now this is where we're going to use our pins. With Minky fabric, like I say, it does shift. And so when I do these smaller ones, I use pins. When I use, when I'm making my larger ones, I use a plastic seal so I don't have to use pins and it doesn't shift. I'll make another video showing you how I make my larger toddler, kids, and adult Minky blankets, and how I'm able to make sure nothing shifts at all. Because the larger ones, that's a whole nother beast right there. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to start pinning, but I'm gonna pin in and just do a square around. This way is going to secure that Minky fabric, hold everything in place so nothing moves while you're sewing. If you just take it over to the sewing machine like this and just remove your clips, I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure something's gonna shift and it possibly won't be even. So this is a step that I've been doing that really works for me. And so I'm just kind of, and even if you end up, you know, taking your pin through the ribbon, that is okay. You just want to make sure you give yourself enough room for that seam allowance as well. So I'm gonna just go in like that. Actually, I'm gonna move that down some. And I'm gonna put about, usually I do about 2 or 3 pins, give or take, depending on how close I put them to each other. And so then I'm gonna turn it and do the same on this side. And again, you're doing this step just to make sure nothing is shifting or moving as you're sewing your 2 pieces together. And then we're also going to leave an opening. We wanna make sure we have a small opening so we can turn the blanket right side out. You don't just want to stitch around, you're going to stitch your blanket closed. So I'll show you how I kind of use my clips or some pins to just mark where I need to not sew on that particular area of the blanket so I don't sew it together, because I have sewn a blanket together before. Actually, I've probably sewn more than a blanket together, a few things together. But you learn from it. All right, so we are almost there. Put one more here and then a couple pins here and we will be good to go. And then I'm gonna put 2 more here. Actually, 3 more. So when you're done, you should have a square of pins that looks like that, okay? Now I do like to sew mine, even though if you do have a walking foot, put that on your sewing machine. If you don't have a walking foot, that's completely fine. These pins will definitely help you out, okay? But I like to have my Minky dot on the bottom and then my Minky smooth on the top, okay? So this is just how I like to sew, as well as normally when I do my Minkies, the white, I'm using the white Minky standard or the smooth fabric, because I normally sublimate on that part. And so I always pretty much use a white stitch on the top, but I do switch out my bobbins depending on the color of Minky fabric that I'm using. So I do have a pink bobbin in, so I'm gonna make sure that I have that pink piece of Minky dot on the bottom, okay? Down. And then what I'm also going to do is take 2 clips, and you could decide wherever. Normally I like to do it, I'm gonna do it in between 2 of the tags or the ribbon, and so I'm gonna just put a pin there and then a pin right by the next one. So then I have 2 pins right there, and that's my reminder to, hey, don't sew this close. You got to turn your blanket right side out. So now we'll go ahead and go over to the sewing machine and we'll do our stitch around and then turn her right side out, and then the next step. So let's head over to the Juki. Now we are at the sewing machine and I have everything set up and ready to go. Again, I have my white thread on top and my bobbin is pink. So I have my pink dot at the bottom and my Minky smooth at the top. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get this situated. And what I'm gonna do is go ahead and remove that pin that was my reminder to stop. And then I'm going to remove this first clip, but I'm going to make sure I'm holding, you can feel where that piece of ribbon is. I'm gonna hold that to make sure it does not move out of place, all right? And just throw my clip in there, and then I'm just using the guides here on my machine. Again, we have a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so that is right there. All right. And so now I'm gonna go ahead, forward stitch, back stitch, and then continue on around. All right, and once you get to that first corner, you go ahead and pivot and just keep going. Make sure you're still lined up. And then I will start removing these clips as I get closer to the piece of ribbon, and just make sure I'm holding it in place. And then I'll just go ahead and keep going. And I'm just stopping at each one. And we'll just keep going around just like this. All right. All right, and then we'll go ahead and pivot. And I'm gonna go ahead and hold that one. Pivot, and we are almost there, just this side and the half of the other side where we're gonna leave that opening. Then I'm gonna hold that ribbon. And you want to make sure that you're still lined up this entire time. You want to, even though you know you're holding that ribbon there, you still want to make sure that you're lined up. Or you can use a pen or like a marker or something like that, chalk, if you want to draw a line around. And when I get to the corners, I always slow down just so I don't go too far. And then we have another piece of ribbon right here, so I'm gonna just hold that, put my foot down, and then okay, and this is our opening right here. So we want, once we get to this pin, we're gonna do a back stitch so we can lock it in, because when you turn your blanket right side out, you don't want your thread to start unraveling. So don't just sew it around. Make sure when you start and stop that you're doing that back stitch. That is very, very important. And I'm gonna remove that pin. And then I'm gonna just go a little bit slower. We'll do a back stitch, and then we will cut and go back over to the table. So that is how our blanket is looking. And well, I still got to take my pins out, so I'm gonna just go ahead and get my pins out of here. And then I'm gonna kind of trim this excess off. And I'm also going to cut my corners as well. All right, and just need to grab my little tool here so I can poke out my corners. And so I'm gonna go ahead and cut those corners off all around. Now you don't have to trim down the extra fabric. It's fine if you don't. I just like to, just to eliminate any bulkiness, because it already is a pretty thick blanket. And then I'm gonna just kind of go down and trim some of this extra down. And I'm gonna not get too close to where I stitched at. So, but just kind of just trimming it down just so it's not a lot of excess fabric left. And then I just have this side and then one more side. Then just move this all out the way and this last side, and then we can turn her right side out. All right, and let me tell you something, Minky fabric gets all over the place. You're gonna have Minky fabric everywhere. So either have a lint roller, a handheld vac, something like that, so you can kind of clean up your workspace. This stuff gets everywhere. Okay, and let me grab my scissors and just cut these threads here, and that's it. All right, so now we have our small opening here, and we're gonna start turning our blanket, and our tags and everything's gonna start popping out. And this is why you want to make sure you do that back stitch at that start and stop points. Otherwise your thread can unravel and then you're gonna have to kind of start over from scratch. Well, not from scratch, but you're gonna have to go back and re-stitch. All right. And so let's just get everything turned right side out, and pulling on the tags kind of helps too. All right, and so now I'm gonna use that opening and we're gonna go ahead and poke out our corners, and be careful if you don't have any type of specific tool to poke out your corners. If you're using a pen or scissors or anything sharp, be really careful because you don't want to poke a hole through your fabric. And again, you'll have to go back and re-sew. So just take your time with this step, especially if you're using something really sharp. And I like to make sure my corners are all the way out, looking good. I can be a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to me making my blankets and my corners. So, and okay, that looks good. And then we got just this one up here. And then I am, again, even though I have this tool for my corners, I'm still being careful because it does have a point on there. All right. And so right now, that is how our blanket is looking on the front. That's how we're looking on the back. And so now I just kind of want to smooth everything out. And I do want to pop that corner out a little bit better. Okay, that looks good. We're gonna smooth it all out. And that opening, we're gonna fold that part in just like that. And then we'll do a top stitch all the way around. All right, so again, you just wanna smooth everything out. Make sure everything looks good. And then, okay, where did I'm gonna have to put a clip there because I keep forgetting where my opening is. Right there. And I'm gonna grab my clips again. Actually, I'm gonna put a couple, and I'm gonna just put them all right next to each other. A few, actually. So I remember, okay, I need to pay special attention to that part of the blanket when I get to it. And so once I smooth it out, I'm gonna grab some more of my clips here, Again, just smooth everything out. Make sure everything's nice and neat and even. And then I do like to use my clips just, again, so nothing shifts or moves when we're doing our top stitch. And so I'm gonna just take my clips and just put it on the edge, making sure everything looks good. And I'm kind of just putting them between each ribbon. And then we'll go back to the machine. We're gonna do a top stitch and then we'll be done. All in all, I would say this project will probably take about 30 to 45 minutes, usually about 30 minutes for the smaller blankets if you're doing any customization. So subtract that time or that what it would take, say if you're going to do embroidery or sublimation or whatever, subtract that time from the total time that it would normally take, again around 30 minutes if you're just even if you're doing sublimation. So normally while I have the Minky dot embroidering, I will go ahead and then do the sublimation portion, so I can kind of be doing two things at once. And then I'll go ahead and then go over and get everything together. And I'll also, while it's embroidering, I'll do my sublimation, I'll cut my ribbon off, so I have everything ready to go once it comes off the machine. And then I can just put everything together and start stitching. So this is what we're looking like on the front. This is how we're looking in the back. And so now I'm gonna go ahead and we'll go back over to the sewing machine. We're gonna do a top stitch all the way around and making sure I have that area that is open with these three clips here right together. So I'll know to pay a little close attention to that part and make sure that it is stitched closed, okay? So let's head back over to the sewing machine so we can do our top stitch. Now that we are at the machine, I'm just lining it up and I'm gonna do about 1/4. So it's gonna be very close to the edge. So I'm gonna remove that first one. Just make sure everything is lined up where I need it to be. Then we're gonna do the same process. We're gonna do that forward stitch, we'll do a back stitch, and just keep going around the entire blanket that way. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and remove that clip. And again, I'm right on the edge. You can move yours in a little bit more depending on how much extra fabric you have when you turned your blanket inside out, if you trimmed it down or not. If you didn't trim it down, you're gonna have more fabric for that to stitch closed for your needle to go through. Since I cut mine down, I'm doing it pretty close to the edge. And then we'll go ahead and pivot and keep on keeping on. And keep your eye on that guide, making sure that it is still lined up. And when I get to the ends, I normally slow down just to make sure that I'm good. And then I'll go ahead and pivot, and this is where our opening is. So we'll go ahead and stitch up to this first piece of ribbon, and then I'll stop so I can go ahead and remove these clips and hold it in place to make sure that we do close this or stitch this closed. Okay, so I'm going to take those clips off. I'm just holding that in place. Okay, perfect. There, we should be good to go. And we'll keep on right on the edge. I need to take that down a little bit more, like right there. All right, then I'll go ahead and move these clips. All right, and then move these. And I'm just slowing down because I'm getting close to that edge again. Okay, now I'm gonna turn it so I can make sure I connect with where I started. And then I'm gonna do a forward stitch, back stitch, and then we are good to go. And I'm just making sure I connect with the thread where I started, and I'm doing that back stitch. All right, so let's head back over to the table. So we are all done with our Minky taggy blanket. There's the front of it, there's the back of it. I mean, these are so cute, and I do like to get different types of ribbon. Again, you can make them all the same size, different sizes, whatever you prefer. And I also made a cute little bunny for this customer as well. So I embroidered on the bunny ear. These particular bears you can sublimate on. So you can sublimate on the ears, the belly, and the feet. But she just wanted just the name on there. So whatever the customer wants, that's what I'm going to make. So baby Luna is going to be custom straight out the womb. So she has her cute little blanket here as well as her bear to match. So I can't wait to get this off to my client. But if you do have any questions about any of the supplies I use, or just any questions in general regarding the process, let me know below in the comments. I do use Minky Smooth and then the Minky Dot for mostly all of my Minky blankets, unless someone requests maybe like a Minky and fleece or something like that, or some other combination. But overall, these are the combinations that I use for all of my Minky blankets. And then as far as the tags, have fun with them. Get different types of ribbon, different sizes, different textures, solids, some with designs on there, things like that. Make it fun for the baby, and so they'll be able to feel different textures and things like that. But if you do have any questions, again, let me know below in the comments. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching today's tutorial, and I will see you in the next one next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye.